if you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut. Get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more, 'cause it's the golf betting system, the golf betting system, it's the golf betting system podcast.
Greetings and welcome to the Golf Betting System podcast. It's episode 380. This is our 2026 Farmers Insurance Open and Bapco Energy's Bahrain Championship Tips podcast. Barry O'Hanran and Paul Williams join me, Steve Bamford, to discuss this week's PGA and DP World Tour action. Good morning, gents.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, guys.
This podcast is for listeners of 18 and above. Please be gamble aware. You can visit gambleaware.org for more information. And of course, please bet responsibly. Visit our world-famous golf betting system website where we have our in-depth betting previews for both the Bahrain Championship and, of course, the Farmers Insurance Open. Paul has been in the stats lab pulling together this week's data. We have Torrey Pines South Course, plus Royal GC strokes gained rankings, detailed course form, player form, and combi sheets for both events. You can also throw in new and old predictor models for both the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour action this week. As ever, all of our stats, all of our content, all of our views, completely free of charge. There is no paywall or registration required. On X, Barry is at A Good Talk Golf. Paul is at Golf Betting. I am at Bamford Golf. We're also on Bluesky. Search for Steve Bamford and Paul Williams. Subscribe to the Steve Bamford Golf YouTube channel where this podcast is available each and every week. Now, you guys as listeners power this podcast. We got some reviews, chaps. So we need your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. As ever, for those of you who leave a review, I'll read them out at the start of a future show. Leave your name and where you are in the review. Thank you to Fade the Square. He's in the United States and he left us this 5-star review last week thanks to our appeal, entitled Sharp Action. Cogent and well-articulated analysis, indispensable part of the weekly process to make advantage bets in the PGA. Having listened for years, the perspective is consistently sophisticated. There are no shortage of golf podcasts hosted by mega degens and uber squares, betting half the field. Loving everything, unable to say no to anything. This crew is quite the opposite. Fade the Square, thank you for your time and your views. Much appreciated.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Fade.
Nice one. Thank you very much.
I've never been described as sharp before.
Yeah.
Only the way you dress, Stephen.
More kind
Maybe
of
it was
wobbly.
ironic.
More kind of wobbly.
Oh, dear.
Paul, I completely forgot this last week. You know, we were just getting into the flow of things, I suppose. But regulars will know, the start of each year, we launch the Golf Betting System Majors competition. So the 2026 competition, sponsored by Bet365, is now open. So do you want to take the listeners through the rules and what they need to do?
Yeah, it's been open for a few weeks actually. So we've had some early entries, lots of Scotty Scheffler entries for the Masters, as you might imagine.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, I think the first 10 that I looked at, each one of them was Scotty Scheffler's for the Masters. Anyway, if you've played before, then it's exactly the same rules as previously. If you haven't, it's dead simple. We want a name for each of the 4 majors, a different name, so it's effectively a one and done. So we want a name for the Masters, a name for the PGA, a name for the US Open, and a name for the Open Championship. And what we'll do is we'll collect a leaderboard based on the dollar earnings at that particular tournament for the player you pick, based effectively on their finishing position and the dollar earnings that they get from that particular tournament. We'll create a leaderboard of all of the people who enter all across the world, and we'll dish out prizes courtesy of Bet365 for the top 3 finishers. First place, £150 or currency equivalent. second place 75, third place 25. Now you can get your 4 names in via, there's a dedicated thread on the Facebook group, there's ways you can enter via both Bluesky and via X, or you can email us your selections as well. So lots of ways to enter. I'm sure Steve will put the link to the rules and application or entry process in this podcast description. So do get involved. We usually get a good number, mid hundreds of people who choose to play each year, and it's really good fun. So yes, please do take a few moments to get your entries in. Entries need to be in before the first tee time at the Masters, is the other thing to say.
I'd suggest that 70% of the entries will have Scotty Scheffler to win the Masters.
Now that I've just mentioned it. But yeah, they're going to, aren't they? It's given what we've seen so far from the, a sample of one, it's going to be very hard to push, isn't he? Very hard to ignore.
Right. Let's talk first of all, last week, Paul, talk to me about Patrick Reed and his win in Dubai.
Yeah.
I had a kind of look and it didn't appear obvious in terms of form.
No, not in terms of form. He was gettable in terms of his performances previously at the Emirates. He does like the course. He had that ding-dong battle with Rory a couple of years ago that Rory came on top out of. But he's proven that he gets on with the track. And this year, it all played into his hands, I think. Once he hit the front, then he didn't really look like being beaten. But the big names that may have pushed him weren't anywhere in sight. So in the end, he could just kind of plod over the line, I guess. Even par final round, didn't need to do anything dramatic to get the job done. Did top the field for strokes gained tee to green, though. That's good. That's particularly good for Patrick Reed. He was strong across the board, actually, around the green as well as you might expect. And that gets him his win on the DP World Tour, up to 29th in the world. So from a major perspective, he was already in the Masters, of course, but from a major perspective, that's going to be of help for him for this season. So big injection of confidence and OWGR points for Patrick Reed to start the season.
We missed we missed out strokes gained mental game. Now, whether that came before or after the podcast last week or it just slipped through, but the motivation factor for the week was I have to pay my DP World Tour fines if I win this tournament. That's sorted for the year. So he had that extra little fire in the belly and off he goes. Yeah,
makes sense, doesn't it? There's motivations there. Not that I'm sure Patrick's short of a bob or two, but even so, it's it gives him that little bit of extra. I think ultimately for him to get that DP World Tour win and put him in position for, well, as I say, for the majors, but all sorts of permutations for the year to come for Patrick. So a big win in the context of his immediate career, I think.
Third at Wentworth, looking back.
It wasn't terrible.
He's a quality performer, isn't he?
Yeah.
And on the DP World Tour, clearly he's going to be a shining light if he's going to play a number of events over and above his live schedule. Yeah,
well, we'll see.
He's so gritty when he's playing. Like it's really impressive to watch. Like there's questionable things that have happened over the years to make you not like him or whatever, but as a competitor, he's one of the more impressive ones out there on tour for me.
Yeah. Oh, he's divisive as a character, and I get that. And I always used to enjoy watching him when he was a Ryder Cupper. I thought the passion and the approach that he brought to the game, to the team was great. It was it was all part of the spectacle.
It's like that football.
Gumber.
Sorry, go ahead. Cutting in.
No, I was going to say I backed him when he won the Masters that year, and I'm always going to have when you've been on that kind of a journey, you're always going to have a relative soft spot for a player like that. So,
I don't say soft spot, but he's like an amazing footballer on another team that you're playing against, and you're just there going, "Oh, F this guy, he's killing us." But at the same time, you can't help but, like, through gritted teeth, just think, God, he's really good.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with him.
Yeah. No, good to see him. Good to see him playing some good golf, and interested to see what the forthcoming year contains for him.
If you are looking for alternatives to Scotty Scheffler at the Masters, Mr. Reed isn't a bad shout. There's huge links, aren't there? Garcia, Danny Willett, you can go back. Players that win the Dubai Desert Classic and then take the green jacket later in the year. And Reed was 80-1 last year and finished third. Mm-hmm. And as we know, guile, experience, knowing the course inside out, especially the greens. I mean, look at Justin Rose last year at 100-1 in a playoff with McIlroy 15-2, second favourite. So Reed's in decent nick. You'll never see it in the stats. You probably won't see many stats because he's on live, and those stats are pretty irrelevant based on the fact it's an exhibition tour and there's not many players. But he's the kind of guy that can mix it around Augusta at a price. So one to make a mental note of, I think. Right, let's talk Scotty Scheffler. It has to be done. His win at the American Express. I did say last week he'd never won an opening event in his professional career. And I did say it would be galling if he did that. And he did. But let's just take a step back and let's just look at what's happening here. Scheffler, that was his, I believe it was his 8th win on Poa Trivialis Overseed greens out of 20. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's his number 1 putting surface. Bermuda with Poa Trivialis Overseed, loves them. He's now won 15 of his last 38 starts. That's 39% win success rate. And I'm going back to the 2024 Arnold Palmer Invitational. He's also finished second or third in a further 5 of those 38 starts. So you've basically had a run in the race. 52% of his last 38 career starts. That's mad. Include the Hero World Challenge. He's won 3 of his last 5. Clearly, if you don't include that, it's 3 of his last 4. Go back to the Open Championship. He's now won 4 of his last 7. Or take the World Challenge out. It's 4 of his last 6 starts. That is just madness.
Yeah. Yeah, it puts the price that you're getting about him into context, and I don't know. It's as close as we've talked about it before. It's as close as we've had to the dominance of Tiger back in the day, and the kind of prices that we used to see about Tiger. It's heading in that direction. Without Scotty markets, are they the way to go when he's playing? Because it's super frustrating. You had Siwoo Kim in the mix, Steve, and up until 54 holes, it looked like a fantastic pick, and then you're looking and Scotty's just over his shoulder. He's making some absolute bombs to keep himself in the mix, and you're just thinking, well, for that final day, it's almost inevitable what's going to happen here. And
adios, Siwoo.
Yes,
it's just
it takes a player to fight off Scheffler these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
When he's literally just hanging around like a bad smell, and a lot of these guys just can't cope. They're not going to cope.
It's the lurking that gets them, I think.
It's the intimidation.
They just know he's coming, like a giant wave. It's like inevitable. He's going to just get you. Yeah. They all melt. It's unbelievable.
You can a double bogey a par 5, which is what Siwoo did, and that's it. Game over. At least he had the decency. At least he had the decency of paying out full each way. So fair play to Siwoo. But Let me just take you through this, because what I'm trying to work out is what our betting strategy needs to be with Scotty Scheffler in the field. But I'm just taking a view here. So I've gone back to the Wyndham Championship, and I've just looked at the various winners across the PGA Tour starts. And just kind of, we've got Scheffler twice. I'm only looking at full field events here, by the way. So no Tommy Fleetwood at 14-1 to win the Tour Championship. I've got Scheffler at 9-4 favourite and 11-4 favourite last week. Monday prices, all of these. Xander won at 10-1 in Japan. I know it's not a full field, but it was pretty chunky. Ben Griffin 12-1 joint favourite. So you've got 4 favourites winning there since the Wyndham, or joint favourites. And then you get this selection of winners. Cam Young 66-1. Justin Rose, 80-1. Stephen Fisk, 80-1. Brennan, 125-1. Schenk, 125-1. Falamaki, 66-1. And Chris Gotterup, Sony, this year, 50-1. So you've got this 50-1 and above bracket, and then you've got favourites. And there's nothing in between, going back to the middle of August. So I don't know. So for the Phoenix, I'm thinking, put Scotty Scheffler in, get him in at 5-2, a few points on that, and then you pick a couple of 66s, 80s, 100-1 shots, and just you close your book.
Yeah, it does get to that point. It's either that or you're just finding a without Scotty market and just playing it that way. Particularly if if you're going into an event where you've got 3 or 4 or 5, mid-price fancies, and you're just staring at Scotty at the top, thinking, "How do I play this?" And it's got to be the way to do it. Just take him out of the mix. Just take him out of the equation.
It's going to be a loaded tournament next week. There's going to be a lot of very
Phoenix,
good players in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But do you back Maverick McNeely to stare down Scotty Scheffler at 33-1? I'm not so sure.
He'd just end up in a puddle on the ground. Come on.
Or Russell Henley.
Perhaps it'd be Brooks.
Could be.
Oh, that would be good.
Nice segue. Brooks is back on the PGA Tour, chaps, this week. Can't wait.
Yes. Be interesting to see, wouldn't it?
Bet365 standalone right now, 66-1 in their standard 5 places of quarterly odds market. I'm seeing him as short with Ladbrokes at 40-1 with 10 places. I take it you're glad, Barry, that Brooks is back. We kind of covered this last week, but it's good to have one of the big dogs back, isn't it? I think
it's great. Get more of the best players together more often. That's all we want to see.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anything else you want to mention from last week, or shall we move on? Because it's going to be a busy show.
We just need Brooks to be like major winning killer level Brooks, not the flapping around thing we've seen the last while.
Well, you'd assume now that he's got some motivation to not embarrass himself on the PGA Tour and build himself up for majors, he's going to that'll give him some focus in his practice and in his routine.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping, isn't it?
Those are 2 good results at the end of last year, so yeah, fingers crossed. God, it'd be good to see him stare down Scotty.
Yeah, he was starting to percolate, wasn't he, at the end of last year? I don't think the Farmers Insurance, again, I said last week that Scotty doesn't win this first event. Now I'm saying that Brooks can't win the Farmers Insurance Open, but it doesn't tend to be his most favourite of courses. So maybe this is kind of a rust removal exercise before Phoenix, where he's won twice next week. Imagine that, eh? Brooks versus Scotty next week.
Yeah, it could happen. Could happen.
In a romantic, that'd be good stuff. Right, Farmers Insurance this week. A lot of people always, traditionally said this was the real start of the PGA Tour year. Tiger would play this, make it his debut each year, and inevitably win. Thankfully, Scotty isn't playing this week. Now, they play this at the iconic Torrey Pines golf course. It's actually split So it's not a Pro-Am, thank the Lord. But it's split on Thursday and Friday this week. It's not a Wednesday start. It's a Thursday start, I believe. Mm-hmm. There's been many, many years here. They start on a Wednesday.
Yep.
But they play one of two rounds, Thursday, Friday, either on the famous South Course or the North Course. Now, the North Course is a Tom Weiskopf design. That is far easier. It's only 7,258 yards as a par 72. That features bent grass greens with no poana within them. Greens are chunky at 6,000 square feet. And that's the score. You look at winners of this, they all tend to shoot a minimum of 68, so 4 under par on the North Course, setting them up for the much harder South Course, which, as we know, US Open history, major championship history, she's a monster. 7,765 yards as a par 72. Agronomy-wise, we've got Bermuda grass overseeded with rye. We've got Kikuyu grass overseeded with ryegrass rough. Just the 4 inches in length. That was said in a cynical way. The greens are 5,000 square feet, which aren't huge for a golf course that's almost 7,800 yards long. They feature Poana. Not everyone's cup of tea, eh, Paul?
Nope.
The amount of comments we hear, oh, God, you can't read, oh, the greens are bobbly, oh, dear, I can't. I wouldn't personally be backing Davis Riley this week because I don't think Davis is going to get on with these Poana greens. But we saw the other week he gets on with Bermuda, but he doesn't get on with Poana. And this is the point. You can pick players that can get on with these surfaces and you can pick players that purely don't. And it doesn't tend to be something they really get accustomed to, a lot of them. A lot of these pros are defeated before they even touch down. It's like, I can't putt on Poana. So when you go in with that kind of mindset, tends to not actually right itself. And the point here is that you actually have to putt well. So if I look at my strokes gained per course analysis and I look at Torrey Pines, I'm going back to, of all people, 2021, Patrick Reed, who won here. If you actually look at the split, it's 58% tee to green and 42% of the total strokes gained of all those champions with the putter. Now that compares last week to the Amex, where it was 65% tee to green, 67% tee to green, and 33%. So there's definitely a requirement here to actually putt well. And I know that those strokes gain numbers are only across the 54 holes at the South Course, but you know, I'm just reading these numbers: 4.4, 3.7, 4.6, 5.9. And last year, Harris English gained over 6 strokes on the greens compared to 4.15 tee to green. So Team No Putt does not get the job done at the Farmers Insurance Open. Maybe, I don't know. I couldn't. It'd be fascinating to know. But Scotty, I don't think, really has played this. He just doesn't get involved. But then you look at someone like Luke List, and, you know, you'd sit down over a pint and go, Luke List, oh, great from tee to green when he's in form. Great driver, decent long game, high GIR, can't putt. But that particular week, he found the putter and gained 3.7 strokes with the putter. So if you can find players that like Poana or grew up in California and are used to it, that's a link in. So you can't just say that you've got to be a great putter, but you've got to try and get a link to players that can putt on Poana.
I wonder if it's, rather than like Poana, it's I don't dislike Poana. And I think the distinction there is that, as you said, players, and if you think Scotty, and you know, when we've seen Scotty not perform, it's often tended to be where there's been variables involved that almost play on his mind and make him
Yeah,
think, well,
it
this
doesn't. It doesn't feel
That the-
fair to him.
Yes.
It's the AI can't compute these unfair variables, right?
There it is.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
and Poana gives you that variable, I think, because
Yeah.
it isn't the flattest of surfaces. It can get bobbly. You know, towards the end of the day, particularly on the west coast, the Poana can be, you know, growing, so it's causing inconsistencies. And to someone like Scotty, that's does that compute in his mind as saying, well, that's unfair. I didn't deserve to miss that putt, and then you go on a kind of negative spiral in that respect.
God, I'd love to see him on a burnt out links course, getting bad breaks. Like, it would be proper drama.
Well, yeah, it's a very fair point, Barry, and you know, I think that's the kind of thing that needs to be brought into the calculations. You know, particularly, you know, again, we were talking about Augusta earlier. You get to Augusta and it's flat, calm. You know, a bit of cut in the ground. Yeah, you know, Scotty's probably going to win it. If there's some other variables involved there, some wind or some other factors that may change that dynamic, then it starts to change your thought process a little bit. Anyway, sorry, Steve.
Is that how we should start each week then? What would Scotty hate this week?
Yes.
And if we can't find an answer to that, we back Scotty.
Are we playing in the Dome this week? Because if we are, Scotty's getting to 27 under and walking the tournament.
Yeah.
It's the US Open that's the one he really struggles with to this point. But anyway, we digress. Harris English won this last year. And if you look at Harris English's past form, he was a winner at TPC River Highlands. That's a golf course in the northeast of America. And I know Poana in the northeast compares to the west coast is slightly different, but you get the gist. He won that on Poana mixed greens. So he had some heritage on Poana. He won this at 8 under. Now, 8 under last year was in very, very windy, horrible conditions. The other thing with Harris English is decent record at the US Open. So there are some bits and bobs you can grab onto here. I'm not sure Matteo Pavon the year before that was grabbable, really. He broke a lot of trends. Prior to that, debutants never won this. Well, that was snapped in half. He'd only played on the PGA. It was only his third outing. He'd already hit a top 10 finish, though. I think he'd finished in the top 10 at the Sony before coming here and winning this. He won it a slightly different way to standard. It was heavily strokes gained putting and a lot of magic around the greens. But, you know, it's all fair in love and war. It's a classical golf course, so there's various ways of winning it. His split was literally 50% tee to green and 6 strokes gained with the putter like Harris English. So Pavon. And then Max Homer won the year before that. I think we were on, actually, 25-1.
Yep.
2023. He won at 13 under. So we've had English, Pavon, Max Homer, Luke List, who beat my Will Zalatoris in a playoff. Another second place. Patrick Reed. They're the last 5 winners. Now, if you're looking at a price point for those winners, 90-1, 125-1, 25-1, 90-1, 25-1. Average that through last 5 renewals, 71-1. If you go all the way back to 2010, Ben Crane, 80-1. The average winning price at the Farmers Insurance Open is 60-1. I said to Paul last week, Ludwig Oberg will, because there were some very late entries into this, because you could see a field last week, and all of a sudden, Xander popped up, and a few players popped in late on. But I said that Ludwig Oberg would go off at like 14-1 for this as the favourite. He's the one. He won here last year at the Genesis Invitational, didn't he?
Yep.
And he won that off of ridiculous. I think he'd got poorly that year at Torrey Pines when he was kind of leading or co-leading after two rounds, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm feeling poorly, and he shot like 78 on Saturday.
Any word why he pulled out last week?
It was just illness again.
Just illness.
So you just get sick this time of year. There's a biorhythm. Like,
Well, it's just funny. He seems to get sick and then wins. So I'm a little bit fearful of Ludwig this week. It has to be said. We had a note, and I'm going to read it out next week. But a guy said, "Could you guys start talking about one and done picks for Torrey Pines?" And Ludwig would probably be my one and done pick this week. Someone that's been poorly. You're going to get a lot of people will be put off by the fact that he was poorly last year, and clearly he has the perfect game for this golf course. So if he's actually just got over his illness and is playing okay, I don't see a world where Ludwig isn't kind of in the mix. So he'd be my kind of one and done. I haven't tipped him naturally. That's why I'm kind of going around the houses saying that Ludwig's likely to win because I'm not on him. I've gone more down the route of deeper kind of prices. And there's people there that you weren't expecting to win, but when they did win, you were like, oh, I can see that. Like English last year, his form in wasn't that stellar. 43rd at the Amex, missed the cut at the Sony. It's not screaming back me, is it? 60th at the RSM, 14th at the WWT were his last 4 outings. However, at the Amex, he'd finished the week before first for strokes going off the tee and 17th for tee to green. So his game was in half decent shape coming here. Pavon, as we said, had a top 10 at the Sony. Max Homer had finished 3rd, I believe, at Kapalua. You could grab him at 25 to 1. Luke List had finished 22nd at the Amex, 10th at the RSM, the outing before Christmas, 11th at Houston. So there was something to grab onto at 90 to 1. So I've kind of gone deeper in the field. I'm looking for players that play well out west. We know that they can handle Poana greens. And they've just got a reason to actually start trying to find something. You're going to hate my first tip, Barry, because you just don't like this guy. He's a US Open winner. Tick. He's won on Poana at Pebble Beach. Tick. He can play well out west. Just showing signs recently that his form's coming back. He's won 3 times on the PGA Tour across Quail Hollow, long classical golf course, Los Angeles Country Club US Open, old style long golf course, and Pebble Beach in a signature level event on Poana greens. Of course, another classical layout. I've put up Wyndham Clark. I've got my first 4 selections are all 1.5 points each way. I got 40 to 1 with Bet365, 8 places on Wyndham Clark. Just starting to show signs. He went out in the 3rd last group last week at the Amex. And I believe he was top 10 at the World Challenge before Christmas as well. So Clark's first up for me, 40 to 1, Bet365, 8 places each way via their each way extra facility. Right, I'm then literally 45 to 1, 45 to 1 and 45 to 1. So what I don't want to do is jump anyone shorter than 40s with you guys. Paul, have you got anyone shorter than 40 to 1?
Yeah, I've got one, and then the rest of mine are in the kind of 60, 70 bracket. I've got 3 in that kind of...
Pray tell then.
Price.
Pray tell on your shorter guy.
Well, the one I think is being a little bit disrespected in the market is Hideki Matsuyama at 33 to 1 right now on Tuesday morning. That's with BetMGM. Of course, you can take some longer each way terms for a slightly shorter price, but even so, he's sitting around about kind of 8th, 9th in the market, and I think he should be a little bit closer to the top, to be honest. Decent end to 2025, 7th, 5th, won the Hero, 13th at the Sony on his reappearance, and that was after just making the cut. He shot then 65, 67 over the weekend to finish in the tie for 13th, so a positive end to that tournament. 3rd back in 2019 around these parts, and does putt these greens well. I know Hideki can be a bit hit and miss with the putter, He was 5th for strokes gained putting for the recorded rounds last week, actually. So that was good. But when you dig through the performances he's had here, he has shot 2nd, 4th and 5th in terms of strokes gained putting over the years here. So he can get on with the Poana greens. And yeah, I think at the price, given where he is in the market, I think he's better than that. And I think he's worth backing at that kind of 33 to 1 price point. So yeah, Hideki for me.
Hideki Matsuyama in President's Cup years, never a bad shout. As again last week we had Siwoo Kim up near the top, didn't we? Jason Day finished 2nd. The internationals are already bubbling in President's Cup year. There's a shocker. Anyone shorter than 40 to 1 for you, Barry?
No, Jason Day popped in my head because he had a good week last week. Just not sure if he backs that up. His last three times here haven't been amazing. So looked at him, skipped past him. Will probably bite me in the ass. He did win previously here in 2018. So I kind of kept moseying on down the board because nobody up the top screamed at me. That's a surprising price, Paul, for a man of his talents.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some of his talents get tempered by the course here. Like his short game is exceptional, but that kind of gets neutralized by just a long rough, so he kind of gets dragged down to the bog standard average. But if he's on it, he's on it. He's just going to beat them because he's class. So I've been feeling like one of the Højgaards is going to do something, and the one who was best last week was by a long stretch was Nicolai, and he was 2nd here 3 years ago. So I'm going to back Nicolai Højgaard.
Nicolai Højgaard. I backed him as well. Point each way 60 to 1 with Bet365 places. So we're both on Nicolai Højgaard.
Yep. So am I. So that makes all three of us.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
So
excuse my blasphemy.
But a few things like that he has been doing. He's 13th tee to green, strokes gained tee to green. This is from your ranking, Steve. And he's 12th in the overall. But also, interestingly, for this one, when you need to putt okay, he popped up in 21st in strokes gained putting. So just some nice boxes, good performance last week. And as we all know, distance is not an issue for him. So no, I like the bet.
Yeah, been producing some decent stuff, hasn't he? 3rd in Abu Dhabi back end of last year, and then 4th last week over at the Emirates at the Dubai Desert Classic. So yeah, I think it all marries up nicely. I don't think there's a reason to suggest that he can't, or there's a glaring reason as to why you shouldn't pick him. So at the price, worth taking on from an each way perspective.
Other thing of note is 2 of the last 4 winners here, and you can go back to John Rahm, of course. 2 are maidens. Luke List, first PGA Tour title, and Matteo Pavon in 2024, first PGA Tour title. Nicolai Højgaard that year, who finished T2, I believe, or I think it was just 2nd actually. I think Jaeger in the end was T3. Højgaard was 45 to 1. 2 years ago when he finished 2nd here. And I believe he came off an 8th place the week before in Dubai. So there is some kind of pattern there with Nicolai. I'm definitely on Nicolai. So I get your logic there. The one that's getting backed off the board, and if you just wanted to marry course form, long driver, streaky putter, non-winner on the PGA Tour, so if you want one that's going to break, is Sam Stevens, and he's just getting backed off the board. So Stevens was the one that caught my eye in that kind of range as well. But I don't know, with players that expect to go have a big week, I'm not sure. It's whether Sam can actually link 2 together, which it'll be interesting to see. My next selection, I'm waiting. This is real Barry country here, listeners. My next 3 selections are literally off the Barry O'Hanrahan playbook. They're all 45 to 1. They're all 1.5 points each way. First one, pregnant pause, Jake Knapp. Second one.
Try not to make dirty noises here, Steve.
I know. Second one, Max Homer. Third one, Will Zalatoris. I'm not going to say any more because regulars will know. I mean, it's obvious. Jake Knapp, long driver. We know his backstory. He was 11th at the Sony last time out. We'd just love to see him go well. He was third here a few years ago. Max Homer, clearly a winner here, an absolute West Coast monster, 6-time winner on the PJ Tour, 4 of those in California, 1 of them here. And Will Zalatoris, I've always said, Will cannot win the American Express at 27 under par, won't win the American Express, but put him on a major championship golf course where scoring's... I think it's going to be mid-score this week. It's pretty... it's like 20 degrees Celsius, 21 degrees. There's not a lot of wind. It'll be the sort of 5 to 10. I can see 14, 15 winning this week. They'll try and get those greens nice and spacey. Hopefully we've got some releasing greens this week, Barry. I know it's a shocker on the PGA Tour. But I just think Zalatoris, Homer and Knapp fit the bill this week really, really well around here.
I think it's a time of year, and that's a temperature range where they can have a chance to let them release earlier in the week. So maybe they just keep them fairly similar Friday, Saturday, and then Saturday, Sunday when everybody is on the same course. They can
South
just let
Cali,
them go because
not a lot of precipitation. But they can let them go.
The temperature's not too high, so they're not going to get burnt out, and they shouldn't lose the greens. So there's a chance they could have it quite interesting for the Saturday and Sunday.
Hopefully,
but it's a good setup anyway. If it's going to have be firm enough, even if there's a little bit of receptiveness to the greens, the firmness will be there. They're not going to be popping through, but it's better. It's a better setup than other years we've had.
So your first selection was Nikolai Højgaard, which would have meant that you've scanned over Jake Knapp, Max Homer and Will Zalatoris on the odds board. So are there any of those that you've got any interest in this week?
Yeah, I was just scatterboarding, Steve. I actually am.
It's not like you.
Nap as well. I'm on Nap.
You are on Nap.
Yeah, of course I'm on Nap. I mean, look, guys playing well. The distance thing is not an issue going around here. Has form here, so yeah, it's it kind of the bet wrote itself. What brought Max? I mean, Max is obviously coming back on the radar. Even late last year, was showing signs of life. What was it last week? That was it the rounds at the stadium course that really kind of perked, got your eye. Or overall.
Do you know what I'm liking about Max at the moment? It's just his all-round game. You look at my strokes gain metrics, he's literally appearing in pretty much every category, apart from off the tee. And I know that he was top 25 off the tee last week. And when you just look at Max when he's playing his best, he's good off the tee, not express crazy length, but long enough. And if he seems to be driving the ball well, that's when you start to see the rest of his game coming together. But, he's top 10 for a strokes gained approach last 8 events. He's top 13 tee to green over the last 8 events. And he's also top 10 for strokes gained putting over the last 8 events. So that all-round game is coming together. And I'd say exactly the same about Max that I would about someone like a Will Zalatoris. I don't see Max winning one of these desert 30 under shootouts, but on a course with releasing greens where you need a bit of a short game and you need course management, it screams Max Homer to me. Don't forget, one of his only top 10s last year was at the Masters.
Yeah. Where the extra focus kind of overcame the struggles in the game. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think he's on the uptrend, so I do like Homer. Will's
Definitely
the same.
on the uptrend.
Will just grabs me as someone that's on there. I actually managed to get 10 places each way with Boyles at 45-1. So thank you to Boyles for that on Will's Alatoris. He's just another one. Played well in South Africa at the end of last year. Again, I think he shot a 66 or something like that in the last round at the Amex. So, yeah, I like Højgaard. My last selection's 80-1. So, where are you at, Paul?
I've got another cut. Was Nikolai we've talked about?
Yeah.
I've backed Marco Penge. Out of curiosity, really. 60-1 he is at the moment. Won 3 times last year, as we've discussed plenty of times on the podcast. Hits it a mile. I think the dimensions of Torrey Pines shouldn't faze him. So I'm interested to see how he goes. I really don't know, but I thought I'd take a chance on him at that price and just see how that fares. The other one
might be the last time you get that price on him, Paul.
Well,
if he does anything this week, he will be on the bookies' radar, and that's it for him on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of disparity when he opened up yesterday. There was 80-1 in places, and then as short as 40-45. So the bookies don't quite know where to place him, and I don't mind that. It does suggest
that's good.
Yeah, it suggests there's some unknown quantity. There's a lot of question marks about how he'll go, and I have equally got the same question marks. So yeah, I'll just be fascinated to see what he does, and I think if you married the skills that he's got on the course, then it's not the worst of fits. So yeah, we'll see how Penge goes. The other one I've backed is Aaron Rai, 70-1. And he was playing some really good stuff. He seems he's a little bit under the radar because there's lots of other names that you'd we've discussed and you could pick out in the market. But if you look at his performances at the back end of last year in Europe, or on the DP World Tour at least, 3rd at Wentworth, 1 in Abu Dhabi, made the cut at the Sony when he came back for his season debut. So a week or so ago. So that wasn't, that shook a bit of rust off, I guess. 6th there back in 2022, so it does have a little bit of course form. And again, you look at the kind of players who can go well around here, and notwithstanding, it's not going to be the more or most difficult of renewals this year compared to some of the really windy events. But even so, this kind of just sits in my mind as a... I know the winning score is likely to get into the, as you've described, Steve, kind of mid-score range. The rounds around the South Course are likely to be closer to the technical side of it and tougher. So I think that's kind of where Aaron Rai tends to come to the fore a little bit. So yeah, I thought 70-1. I'll take him on each way chance, see what he does. So yeah, Rai, Penge, Nikolai, and Hideki, my 4 for this week.
My last selection is a DP World Tour graduate. He's got decent form by the coast. All 4 of his DP World Tour wins have been on par 72 formats. And he's playing some really nice golf at the moment. He was 10th at the Nedbank, 8th at the DP World Tour Championship at the end of last year, and 8th at the American Express last week. Hao Tong Lee. I've got 80-1 with Bet365, 8 places each way. President's Cup, yeah.
Yeah. His long game's improved massively over the last year.
Yeah, it's very consistent, mate, when I looked at the numbers.
Yeah, and that much was evident, and ultimately that's what's helped him get to the position he's got to now on the PGA Tour. I think there's an element of focus with Hao Tong as well. I think he can go through prolonged periods of time where his head's not really in it. His heart's not in it for that period of time for whatever reason, goes off the boil and then back in. It looks like he's started his PGA Tour campaign season with a lot of focus. Played well last week, so yeah, interesting to see how he goes.
You will get a long price player or two in the mix here. I was just scanning OddsChecker trying to work out who that might be. Look, just for some examples. We had Novak last year, 150-1, and Christopher, at 500 to 1. Hayden Springer was in the each way mix as well, 250 to 1. And then the year before that, Knapp Barry was 400 to 1. Nate Lashley, bit of a Poana specialist, 350 to 1. So there's someone deep in these odds somewhere, and it might be Sudarshan Yella Maharaju, but I couldn't give you that definitively.
Steve, you're not allowed to practice these unusual names. Come on, it's not fair. The listeners want to hear it butchered, so you got to do your part, or else they'll not send you any more 5-star reviews.
One popped up last week who was some very long. He's a very long driver, and he was I think he was top 20 last week. He won in Puerto Rico, I believe. It's Carl Phillips. Wouldn't be surprised. The sort. David Ford, another one that's hitting the ball a long way and very accurately recently. It's going to be someone like this that gets into a sort of a Sunday good position. Any other selections for you, Barry, before we move on? Have we tempted you? Are you still...
I was kind of looking at Sahith Theegala. I know it's the driving that's like the accuracy is just tragic. I mean, but he hits it long. He's from California. I don't know if it's just reaching to try find another pick for the week. So now that it popped in my head, I might just need to put a half point each way in it or something like that, just to placate the bet. But
I was just looking. It was his clearly, I've said this many times over the years, but he gained. It was an amazing amount with a putter last week. Last week? Yeah. He was third for strokes gained putting last week. He gained 4 strokes with the putter across just 2 36-hole round, 236s.
I know.
He was 81st for tee to green neutral. It was the driver that really. It was okay last week actually, but yeah, I mean he's got that California heritage, and you just know classical golf courses, majors, tougher courses. He's the sort of guy that pops up Theegala.
It was just something about it. I don't know what it was, and look, if the putting was going well, really well. That's never going to hold. It's never going to hold always on a long-term trend, but it could hang on till next week, and it could give confidence to the other parts of the game as well. So,
of course,
I think that's why it popped in the head, and the California, obviously, birthplace.
It's funny, you see a player. It's funny, you see a player that's had a good week with the putter, and everyone goes, they're not going to keep that up. And then you see a player that can't putt, but is playing great from tee to green. It's like, their tee to green game's fantastic, so the putter's going to warm up soon. He can't work. People seem to think he can't work the other way.
That's the thing. And we always kind of just believe that. The putter will just click for him. It'll be fine, no problem. And you could go weeks and weeks and weeks just rolling it over the edge and just not getting a thing. But then, if your kind of game is based around the putter, and then of course you find the putter, it can work the other way. But people just, he's had a fluky week with the putter. He's rubbish from tee to green. I'm not going to select him. What it does is it takes pressure off your approach game and your short game as well, because it just gives you a little bit of freedom to not be afraid of a bad one, because your putter's going to save you. So you can hit to a comfortable spot in the green and know you're not going to 3-putt, or you can. It just gives you that little bit of freedom. The putter's there. It's like, it's okay, I got you, buddy. So. Yeah, I know. I kind of have to now that I've talked myself into it, so I might go 6 points each way in him. So,
if you're enjoying this podcast, you enjoy our content, you enjoy our chats each week, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and if you could throw us a like, that'd be much appreciated. Or throw a comment in as well. All good for the algorithm, right, Paul? Bapco, Bahrain Championship. Take it away on the DP World Tour.
Yes, we're going to continue our Middle East leg of this international swing on the DP World Tour. Back to normal, though, after last week's Rolex Series events, with most of those big names that were in Dubai last week having departed now. Jaden Shaper is here. He opened up as the favourite this week from Patrick Reed, Both of them were around the 12 to 14 to 1 mark. Lots of money for Angel Ayora overnight, though. He's been backed into, 14 to 1, 12 to 1 in places, even shorter in some places. And he's just about the marginal favourite now with a number of firms. So Ayora from Shaper, Patrick Reed, last week's winner, drifting a little. Daniel Hillier, 18 to 1, been popular again. Thomas Dietrich, 20 to 1. And then you're out to the likes of Julien Guerrier, who's been playing some nice stuff so far this year in 2026. Wen Yi Ding, 35 to 1, 40 to 1, bar those top few players. Normal event, as I say, so the each way terms have taken a dip backwards, sadly, on the DP World Tour. Ladbrokes and Coral have gone 7 places, a fifth of the odds are standard this week. And of course, if you dig around the deeper markets on the likes of Betfred and Bet365, then they've both got extended each way markets available. So do check out all of the options before you place your bet this week. There may be a nugget or two in there from an each way perspective if that's the way you bet. Now, the course, we are at the Royal Golf Club in Bahrain. It's a 7,347 yard par 72 Colin Montgomery design. It hosted the 2011 Volvo Golf Champions event. Remember when that was on the schedule? Now defunct, of course. And it also hosted the last 2 renewals of this, plus some lower level Middle East events over the years. All of the stats, all of those results are on the event stat sheet and also the combi sheets on the site this week. So if you want to dig through the history of this course, then it's all there ready for you to peruse. The course itself is an exposed, typically desert affair, well bunkered greens. Paspalum grass has been used on the greens, as we often see nowadays in this part of the world. 4 mid-length par 5s, 3 short par 4s. Depends where they position the tee boxes on those par 4s as to how gettable they are. But overall, particularly with the par 5s, it sets up really nicely for the bombers here when conditions allow them to wield that driver. Now, going back historically, looking at some of those results, Paul Casey won that 2011 event, the Volvo Golf Champions. That was at 20 under par. The Middle East events, David Haig, Robin Roussel won the 2 events in 2019, 2020. Less important, of course, for the context of this week's affair. Dylan Fratelli, 13 under back in 2024. He won the first Bahrain Championship, 175 to 1. Huge price for Dylan. And then last year it was Laurie Cantor, 14 under, and he was a 22 to 1 shot. So last 2 years, 14 under, 13 under. Both years there's been a bit of wind around, fair bit of wind, and that's kept a lid on scoring. Of course, as I mentioned, Paul Casey won in windless conditions back in 2011. That was at 20 under, so it is scoreable when there's not much wind about. Doesn't seem to be a great deal of wind about this week, so 10 to 15 mile an hour on Thursday, lighter thereafter, sunny pleasant conditions. So I think we should see scoring far closer to Paul Casey's total than that of Fratelli and Cantor. So maybe 18, 19. If someone really puts a decent week together, perhaps they'll get into the 20s under par. But if you were to pin me down for it, I think 18, 19 is probably about the right number this week. So we'll see how far that is off the mark on Sunday afternoon. The formula looks quite simple, though, if you dig through the traditional stats. We've got stats for that Casey win and, of course, the last 2 events held here. Casey, Fratelli and Cantor, all of them were top 20 for driving distance. All of them hit 75 or around about 75% of greens and scrambled well. So that, from a traditional perspective, looks to be a fairly fixed attack or way of attacking this course. From a strokes gained perspective, Fratelli and Cantor were 4th and 7th off the tee, 1st and 9th for approach, 1st and 2nd for strokes gained tee to green. So it was literally all about the long game. The last 2 years, from a strokes gained perspective, putting was way down the list in terms of the requirements. Slightly easier this year, perhaps, just perhaps, the putter will need to be a little bit warmer. But I think, again, if you were picking two metrics to start with, then strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained tee to green would be my starting point, with a bit of driving distance thrown in for good measure. In terms of incoming form, bit of a mixed bag, and that is pretty fairly evident from the prices of Fratelli versus Cantor. Paul Casey, coming into this back 15 years ago, had 4 top 10s and a top 20 in his immediate 5 starts before winning this. Cantor, he'd finished third at the Dubai Desert Classic a fortnight before winning last year. Fratelli, though, 175 to 1, as I said, 41st and 70th from his 2 starts that year. So very little form-wise for punters to get stuck into with Dylan Fratelli. It would have been a bit of a shot in the dark for those who managed to pluck him out the year before last. For me, this week's about a strong long game, I think, making the most of those par 5s, attacking those par 4s, the shorter par 4s when there's opportunity to do so with the tee position, or maybe the breeze in the right direction or whatever. And as I say, I think recent conditions, the conditions here this week should see us closer to 20 under as a winning total. So I think attacking play, a good long game attacking play, seems to be the order of the day. I've backed 4 this week. I'll rattle through them and then we'll bring you boys in. I know we're running down the clock at the moment, so time is of the essence. Of the top half dozen or so in the market, the name that really stood out to me yesterday was Angel Ayora. I think he's the best fit for this. He opened at 16 to 1 yesterday. As I say, he's been backed in 14 to 1 and being back steadily. So if you do fancy a bit of Ayora, then I would back him sooner rather than later, given the prices on, or the price is shortening by the minute. 9 top 10 finishes since the end of June last year. I mean, they got him into the season-ending playoffs. He finished 9th in Abu Dhabi, 8th at the Earth Course. Really good performances in decent company. Finished 20th in the race to Dubai in the end, so just outside those spots for the PGA Tour cards. But at the age of 21, he's a bright young thing who's, I think, is going to push on and potentially secure a maiden title sooner rather than later, potentially even this week. And it can be looking to earn promotion to the PGA Tour in a year's time. I think he's of that kind of quality. Strengths in the long game: 6th for driving distance last year, 4th for strokes gained off the tee, 8th for strokes gained tee to green. It ticks every box in that respect from what I was looking for. 13th at the Dubai Invitational to start this year, 26th last week at the Emirates. He flirted with the cut line at one point, so it was a good recovery, and in the end, a decent week to finish in the tie for 26th. I think he may well push on this week and seriously contend, if not win, this golf tournament. So Ayora at the top, a couple of mid-price fancies after that. Antoine Rosner I've backed at 40, was 45 to 1 yesterday, again been nibbled in 40 to 1 at the moment, the best price. Fabulous 2024, he earned a PGA Tour card that year, and the step up didn't really go to plan last year. 13th for the Byron Nelson was the best that he could muster, but step back down to the PGA Tour or DP World Tour this week, and as we've often seen, players who do take a step one way or back down the other, and it can be galvanising for their game. They can feel a level of comfort, and the results can certainly start to flow again. His best results when he did come back over this side of the Atlantic last year, well, 4th in Qatar was the best performance, so that's of some relevance, of course, for in terms of its location and also the agronomy used there. 10th in Dubai, the Dubai Invitational a fortnight ago as well. So that was a positive start to the season for Antoine. Won twice in the Middle East. He's also won in Mauritius, which again has got some passable links. 12th here on debut back in 2024. And sneaky long off the tee. 308 he averaged on the PGA Tour last year. So he has the firepower to attack this course, I think. In the same kind of price bracket, I've also backed Alejandro Del Rey, 45 to 1, the best prices we talked this morning. Alejandro's not just sneaky long, he's just long. So again, fits the bill perfectly. 5th for the season to date for driving distance, and certainly got the firepower to attack this course. 42nd, 26th for his 2 outings so far this season. So some good progressive form. In different form here on the face of it, but if you dig through his performances, 56th and missed cut from the 2 events that he's played here, so it looks pretty poor on the face of it. That first event, his debut event, he was 4th after day 1, 4th going into the weekend as well, and then dropped away. Last year he missed the cut, but that was immediately the week after winning in Ras Al Khaimah. So you can forgive him that. A lot of players will just mentally and physically take the week off immediately after winning their maiden title. So you can forgive him that. That was at the end of January. So it does tick the biorhythm box if you are so interested in biorhythms. So yeah, Alejandro Del Rey ticks enough boxes for me to have a play. 45 to 1. The final one, much, much longer. 275 to 1 as we speak, 8 places each way. That's with Bet365 in their extended market. Alex Levy. I couldn't resist a punt on who is one of my favourite players, Alexander Levy. Now, he's been off the boil for a few years, much to my dismay, because I do like backing him. That was with a bit of injury, lost a bit of form at the back of that, as you might expect, but he was very well capable at this kind of level back in the day. He won 5 times on tour back when he was at his peak. Only 35 years old now, though, so he's not exactly over the hill. I'm sure there's still more to come. Fit and healthy now, I think he can move forward. He just needs to find himself a home because playing privileges have gone. He tried Q School, didn't get through that. He tried the Live Promotions event to no avail. He's playing here on an invite this week, so needs to make the most of this week. But when we have seen him play recently, he's been doing all right. He finished 9th at the Spanish Open, 7th in Mauritius before Christmas. Led the field for strokes gained off the tee that week in Mauritius, 4th for strokes gained tee to green. So, and Alex Levy, whose long game is working, coming into an event like this that I think actually suits him in terms of his style of play, I think he could massively outperform his odds this week. And say 275 to 1, there's 300 plus available if you want to go for bog standard each way places. So big price on Levy. But my 4, Alex Levy, Alejandro Del Rey, Antoine Rosner, Angel Ayora. Barry, any interest in this event for you this week?
I'm going to put up a Frenchman against your Angel Ayora with a few more points in the odds. I'm going to go for Couvra.
Yes, he was flirted with my shortlist, Couvra. Yep. Couldn't put you off, Barry.
Yeah, not the longest off the tee, but just I was looking at his win last year, kind of comparable length course, bit of space out here. So just overall the game's in good shape. 10th last week. I kind of just liked the alignment of form and odds. Yep.
No. It's, as I say, wouldn't put you off. I think he could go well. Could have a big season. Couvra played well last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I've backed Ayora quite a bit and just hasn't materialised yet. So it was getting a bit bothersome. So I've said adios for the moment. We'll see.
You freed him up for me, Barry. Thanks for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just filled the market with money so you can scoop it all out. The other bet is purely just to troll Steve now. way out in the odds. But this guy, I kind of went, okay, well, Steve's just joking about his name, but then went and had a look, and he's second, albeit for strokes gained off the tee. It's only 7 rounds he's played, but he is second on tour for that stat. So it's Oyhan Guillamundegi, and that's as good as I can do the pronunciation. Young Frenchman, so there's a theme going this week, and he can bang the ball out there from what I'm looking at, and I just need to find the right matching of odds, but he's up on the 125s, 150s in places, so I just need to find the best combo, probably with a lot of places.
Very good, and expertly done with the pronunciation there. He's one of these players that... Yeah, it's really good. He's one of these players that seems to be on the bubble in terms of whether he qualifies for the events or not because of his status. So the fact that he's in this week should help focus the mind a little bit.
He has iffy status, yeah. He was in the top 20 from the Road to Mallorca rankings last year, just looking at. So, yeah, he's 25th on tour for driving distance, so I'm putting quite nice. Yeah, stats this year for just a couple of events are good, so maybe he'll take a shot this week.
I'd look forward to him appearing more in our conversations and Steve's pronunciation further down the line.
Yeah, I'll leave that one. I've gone for 3. Angel at the top. I'm on. I've also gone for Martin Kuvra.
Nice.
I don't know if that hurts you, Barry. I'm on at 40-1 with Bet365 on that one. 8 places each way.
Nice catch. You got in there early.
Very early. 4th in Bahrain, 5th in Qatar last year. So he won in Turkey. So, yeah, I like a bit of Kuvra. And I'm actually swapping. You swapped out, Barry. I'm going in. We mentioned him last week. Bombers Golf Course. He's got to click at some point. Nicholas Norgard. I got 50-1, 8 places each way with Bet365 via their each way extra facility on Nicholas Norgard.
Very good.
That's us, I think.
Yeah, I haven't backed him. I just wanted to mention this young Chinese guy, the Yan Han Zhu, who is available at 150-1. So I'll be fascinated to see how he goes. Chinese youngster, absolute star in the making by the looks of it. Only 17, but he's won 11 times already over his career. Won 7 times on the China Tour last year. So got his DP World Tour card by virtue of winning the Chinese Tour Order of Merit. So playing this week, he has played some of the co-sanctioned events in the past and kind of finished mid-division. You know, this is a young lad still learning his game. So we'll be fascinated to see how he goes. I wouldn't put anyone off just having a speculative quid each way on Yan Han Zhu if they fancied something a bit further down the list. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he gets on.
One to keep an eye on. Will pop at some point, undoubtedly.
Looks like it, yeah.
Maybe this week when none of us have got a penny on him.
Maybe.
Right, thank you for your time, gentlemen. I hope your bets go well.
Yeah, best of luck, boys.
You too, boys.
If you've made it this far and you're listening in the UK or Ireland and you would like to leave us a 5-star review, that would be much appreciated. I will read them out at the start of a show in the near future. So I hope everyone's bets go well. Enjoy your golf this week. We'll be back next week. We've got the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And Paul, what have you got?
We've got the Qatar Masters with the aforementioned Luke List playing next week.
Excellent. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
If you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut, get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more. Cause it's the golf betting system. The golf betting system is the golf betting system podcast.